International Women's Day, where there'll be lots of activities the world over, all about the rights of women, and there's a lot of activity on social media as well. In fact, I will try during today's video conference to tweet. I don't know how successful I'll be, but I'll certainly be tweeting afterwards, and you will be able to join in the Twitter conversation. If you do, please use the hashtag #2faith and also the hashtag IWD for, obviously, International Women's Day. And we will continue our conversations there. And if you want to follow us, the Twitter handle is @face_2_faith. Okay, I know that many of you have done video conferences before, but we do have some newcomers here. So I am going to just run through some protocols. And I want to check with Palestine. Carmel, are you going to need us to pause now and then for translation?
Yes, so can you hear me?
I can, yes. Hi, Carmel.
Hello. Hi, yes, so we will inform you if we need that.
Fantastic. So what we need to do in today's video conference, everybody, is be mindful that actually for most of you folks, English is a second language. And for our friends over there in Ramallah, the video conference, part of the video conference will be translated into Arabic. Okay. I don't speak Arabic, and I may well be one of the very few people on today's VC who don't speak Arabic, but there we have it. Do speak in English, please, today. Thank you. And when you are speaking, speak clearly and slowly. We all have accents. I've got an accent from the north of England, and I believe Nazmin also has a north of England accent as well. Don't rush what you're saying, because then you tend to trip over your words, and actually understanding what one another's saying is going to be crucial for learning from one another. Your thoughts and comments and ideas are just far too important for us to miss. Secondly, you have two roles in today's video conference. You are here as a peer learner, okay, as a peer student, and you're also here as a peer educator, a peer teacher. So your responsibilities as a teacher, first of all, is to make sure that you give really good descriptions and explanations, okay? Short sentences or saying something like "it's nice" or "I think it's wrong" really is not helpful. You need to back up everything that you say with an explanation, a description, and evidence if possible. Now, when we get on to the dialogue about faith and belief, it would be great if you said, if you say, well, actually, in Islam, we believe that women should be treated equally. You then back that up with something maybe from the Quran, a hadith, or something else. And similarly, for anybody who comes from any other faith tradition, if we can look to backing up what we're saying from some kind of text or teaching, or perhaps looking at a figure in the past or present day, that would be wonderful. Now, as a learner, you also have a responsibility. If you don't understand something, like I hope you would do in your classroom, you need to ask. You need to say, I don't quite understand what you said. Could you explain that to me again? Okay? You also have a responsibility as a learner to try to make your understanding even a little deeper, and the best way to do that is by asking a question based on what you have heard. We call these response questions. And I've worked with some of you before, and I know that some of you are amazing at asking response questions. So not just thinking of the next topic to ask a question on, but staying on topic and really fully understanding what's being discussed. Where you can, try to speak from your own experience and your own opinion. So say I instead of we, okay? It's important that you don't assume to know what others in your communities think. And the very last thing is, if you could start with your name, we'll try to use one another's names in the video conference because I think it is a mark of respect. And when you've finished, could you say thank you? And in that way, we know that we're ready to move on. I'd hate to think that somebody is cut off, you know, because sometimes we like a bit of thinking time while we're speaking. So if you say thank you at the end, we all know that we're ready to move on. Now, if you understand those protocols, could you give me a wave? It's fine, actually, for your teacher to go over them with you if they want to. Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you, everybody. Right. We're going to start off, well, one of the things I need to do in the video conference today is ensure that everybody has a fair say. So what I'm going to do is invite you by school to speak, okay, so that it's equal and fair in today's video conference. So if you go ahead and like ask 3 questions all at once, I might say, no, we're only going to take 1 or 2 of those. Okay, I'm not being mean. Everything I do today will be me trying to be fair to everybody. So first of all, we're going to hear from you what you hope to achieve out of today's video conference. And we're going to start with Cambridge High School. If we can hear from a couple of you there, just a couple, that would be great. Then we'll go to Modern Systems, then Mashrek, and then Serda. And the question is, what do you hope to get out of today's video conference? Cambridge High, thank you. Okay, Cambridge High, you need to unmute your microphone and then go ahead, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Atma, and like what I hope to get out of this conference is a solution to the fact to the crimes against women and women's rights. We have to find a way and to ensure that everyone's ideas is heard, and that we form a solution together to ensure that crimes against women do not happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Atma, and I love that whole idea of us working together as a group here and learning from one another to come up with some solutions to this problem. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? My name is Awatif. What all of us would like to would like to get from this conference is a peaceful world, equality between men and women, to try to spread awareness about women's rights and try to define women's rights and change some of the rules that hurts the women in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Awatif. I thought what was interesting about what you said there as well was not only the spreading awareness, but also, you know, defining what women's rights actually are. Now, I'm so sorry, we've got a gentleman sat there, but we're just going to hear 2 from each school, okay, at this point. So stay there because you might be able to make your comment in a moment. So can we go over to Modern Systems and hear from 2 people there, please?
Who would like to speak? Suppression in our society.
Suppression?
And our society. Yes. Yes, Ren. Come on, Ren.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Ren from Modern System Schools. Do we have suppression in our society?
Speak. Yes.
And what are the solutions for harassment in general and women's rights? I need some ideas, and I want to know in general in each country we are talking to. I want to know what are problems about women and what do women mostly are avoided from.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really interesting. Yeah. The fact that you want to know whether, you know, the issues affecting women are the same or different in the different regions that we've got on the video conference, that will be really interesting, Ren. You're right. Is there anybody else at Modern Systems who'd like to speak?
Another one. Yes.
Anyone?
Hi, I'm Manar. I wanted to talk about women's rights related to religions around the world and with schools that you're connected to.
I'm Raya, and I would also like to talk about the limited freedom we are given in Islam. How it could be a privilege to us. Thank you.
Okay, I don't quite understand that last question there. I mean, we had women's rights related to religion, which is clear, but the last girl who spoke then, could you just explain what you mean? Thank you.
Yes. Actually, I will, yeah. Actually, Raya wanted to say or comment on how, yes, women, maybe under our religion concerning Islam, there's some kind of limited freedom. But what we want to deliver or explain in this conference is that this kind of limited freedom is actually for the good of women. It's not against, it is for her privilege, a kind of a privilege for her. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So I think we're talking about perceived limitations then, aren't we? Rather than actual limitations, if they're actually for the benefit of the woman. That is, it's complex and challenging, and I love it. So great thinking there. All right, let's move on to Al Mashrek now. Thank you. Just two, please. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. My name is Ruana. I just wanted to sum up what we're basically aiming for in this conference. First of all, we're trying to find a solution for the problems towards women, and we're trying to share our different ideas by accepting one another and probably reaching one solution as one community regardless of our different perspectives and backgrounds. And that's going to probably be through communicating our ideas and reaching solutions to the issues related to women's rights. Thank you.
Thank you. And just picking up on something you said then, you talked about, you know, working towards solutions together, and you said the phrase accepting one another, and that's going to be really important that you do, you know, you accept one another, you engage with one another, and then hopefully we can work together despite difference, you know, to come to some sort of solution here. Well done. And Serda, finally, thank you.
Hello, my name is Bilal, and what I believe is the purpose of this conference is to establish an understanding between different religions that women's rights actually exist, but it is not being used or applied in our countries. And thank you.
Brilliant. Well done. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how religion, how it's actually interpretations of religion that affect, you know, the status of women within the different communities. Okay, and sorry, I preempted myself there. So Serda, can we hear from you now? Thank you there in Ramallah.
Hi, my name is Ra'a, and I agree with all the schools about everything, and I mostly wanted to talk about women's rights and status in role or status in Islam or in society. Thank you.
Okay, so we come back to a point made earlier by another school, you know, about the role of women in Islam and the role of women in society. Is there anybody else there at Serda who'd like to speak? And feel free to speak in Arabic, and then that can be translated for me. And I don't know if Nazmin speaks Arabic or not, but perhaps for Nazmin as well.
هاي my name is Tiam. احنا حابين برضه نحكي عن مشاكل المرأة في المجتمع، برضه كيف إلها دور كبير إنها في تحسين المجتمع برضه، وإيش المجتمع بيقدم لها. Thank you.
Carmel, can you translate, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was just writing down her ideas. Okay, so she wants to talk about the women's problems that she faces in society and her achievements, women's achievements to the sake of improvement to the society and what society provides to them.
Great. I'm so pleased that somebody's touched upon the achievements of women as well. That's absolutely fabulous. So shukran very much over there in Palestine. Okay, so I'd like now to introduce you to, that's the extent of my Arabic, by the way. I'd like to introduce you now to Nazmin, who's speaking to us from the north of England today. She is a fabulous, really inspirational young woman, and she's going to talk to us right now about the work that she is involved in. And she's also going to talk to us, she'll touch on some of the points you're interested in actually, because she's going to talk about her inspirations and the importance of her faith actually in doing the work that she's involved in. So it's not a bad idea if you've got a pen and paper to be making some notes while she's speaking. If you've not got pen and paper, you just have to remember it, because afterwards I'll be asking you, or rather inviting you to ask questions to Nazmin about her work and her inspirations and her challenges and achievements. So it's over to you, Nazmin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jo, and I probably will talk a lot, so I'm going to expect you to cut me short if I go on for too long. First of all then, Assalamu alaikum and hi. It's great to be here speaking to you all. I don't speak Arabic, so you will have to translate for me as well, and I do have a northern accent, so bear with me. If I go too fast, just wave or somehow let me know, and I will try and slow down. So the first thing I wanted to say, obviously, is Happy International Women's Day. And it's not a usual greeting, but I really think that it needs to start becoming something that's recognised as much as Valentine's Day or Christmas is recognised. I have to say, expectations of what you want to achieve from today is high. I will try my best to assist as much as possible, but I will say that I don't have all the answers, and I don't necessarily have all the knowledge and experiences that you may be expecting. The reason I say this now is that we don't know who knows everything, and we don't know who knows nothing. You might think, okay, we're children, we don't know as much as the next person, but that's not true. It depends on each individual contributing together and working together. So today, I'm actually expecting to learn more from you than perhaps you learn from me, and I want everyone to, work together, discuss things, and come to solutions that together as to how we can combat violence against women. I have to say, I think it's amazing that this is being organised, because in all honesty, I didn't know about International Women's Day and its existence until adulthood, and this was when I first went into university, and so I was probably about 21 before I heard of International Women's Day, and that really says something about the way violence against women and feminist issues generally are tackled. It's when you yourself go out of your way to look for it that you come across it. Otherwise, if you just sit there waiting for something, then unfortunately no one's going to come and tell you about it. So it really is a matter of the women to go and get their rights themselves. With a bit of background about myself, I'm a law graduate, so I did a law degree, then was called to the bar, and then did the Masters in Law. It was pretty much during my Masters in Law, which was focused on women and criminal law, that I started to become more and more focused on the rights of women more internationally, and as well as within the home. Until then, I knew about it, I read about it, but I didn't do anything actively about it. I started becoming involved with student union, so I became a student activist. That was mostly to do with ethnic minority work. So I am, in the UK, an ethnic minority. I'm a British Asian Muslim woman. You really can't get any more ethnic minority than that. And from that, I, obviously, with ethnic minority issues, it overlapped with women's issues. From there, after I graduated, I started volunteering for Muslim Women's Network UK, and that is pretty much the work that we will be working on today, what I do with them. So the way it arose was I started researching in Islamic law as part of my legal work, and it just so happened that the conventional information that was being provided, for example, by the media or by others, was being, wasn't necessarily accurate, or there were other interpretations. And I didn't know that until I started looking into it. The fact that one particular hadith can be looked at different ways, the fact that the Quran can be interpreted in different ways and can depend on how you're interpreting it. I didn't know that until I started looking into it. And that's what I started doing with Muslim Women's Network UK. At first, I was apprehensive because I thought, well, I'm not just a Muslim woman. And I also had this reservation that to be able to represent Muslim women, you have to be the ideal Muslim woman. So you can't do anything wrong. You can't, for example, you can't swear. You have to be wearing a headscarf all the time. I had all these reservations. And then I thought, well, actually, Muslim women are diverse. Who says that we're all exactly the same and therefore we all have to behave in the same way? We all have different viewpoints. We do all have different ambitions. And someone needs to make a stand for Muslim women somewhere. Someone needs to give them a voice, so why not me? And that's how I joined Muslim Women's Network, with the hope that we'll be able to advocate for Muslim women in the UK. It is based in the UK rather than international, although we do like to think that the work we're doing does overlap both personally and internationally. And someone did say there earlier that they wanted to see what the differences are for the experience of women, depending on each different country and area and region. Interested in that as well, because I think everyone's experiences can be unique depending on where they're from, but at the same time it can overlap. And it's by looking at the similarities and differences that we'd be most able to come to solutions that eradicate violence against women. Just a bit about Muslim Women's Network UK, and the easiest way to do that is actually just probably read out excerpts from our kind of recent annual report. So Muslim Women's Network UK is a UK-wide network of women which aims to share knowledge, connect the voices and promote the needs of diverse Muslim women. Muslim Women's Network UK works within a framework of human rights, justice and Islamic feminism. We aim to be member-focused, inclusive and accountable in all that we do. We're committed to gender equality and value diversity. We are independent from all established political, governmental and religious institutions. Organising as a network provides a mechanism for sharing knowledge, raising the profile of individuals, organisations and issues, influencing policy and attitudes, and building a critical mass of voices. So that's our aim, that we want all Muslim women to connect together so that even with their differences between them, even though they have different aims in life, they can do what they want and they have the support of a network behind them. Currently, we've got 7 strategic priorities that we work on. So the first is sharing understandings of gender and Islam from a human rights perspective. Then we have sharing knowledge of UK family laws, and then we have changing attitudes to domestic violence and violence against women, changing attitudes to mental health, changing attitudes to women's leadership, supporting actions to address forced marriage, and supporting actions to address child sex abuse. So as you can see from that, we do have a wide range of work. Some of them may seem surprising for Muslim women's organisations, such as changing attitudes to mental health. People tend to ask me why we decided to focus on something like that. But it's because it's an issue within the Muslim community which isn't tackled, and it affects Muslim women. So we thought, well, why not? If it affects them, we will work on it. Things like violence against women is obviously something that would come within our remit, but something that, even though we have 7 priority areas, that doesn't mean that we limit our work to that. As and when we can, we do try and delve into as much as possible and help everyone overall. So that's all I really wanted to say as a way of introduction, and really I just want to continue on and discuss overall your experiences, your questions, and try and answer as much as I can. What my responses will be based on my personal experiences as well as professional, so it will be a combination. As I said before, and I will repeat again, I don't expect to have all the answers. Joe had previously mentioned something about hadiths and Qurans, and that, you know, if you're making a response, rely on them and point out what they are. I will try my best to do that, but it might be that you know a hadith or a verse from the Quran that I've never heard of, and vice versa. And that's fine, because at the end of the day, the main aim of this is to be able to discuss and learn from each other. And even if you think that you don't know something, that doesn't matter, because not knowing something and admitting that you don't know something is the best way to then tackle the issue and move on from it. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone.
That was perfect, Nazmin. Thank you very much indeed. Now, if the students don't ask you about it, I'm going to ask you to touch on your inspirations for deciding to follow this path instead of what could have been a very financially rewarding career in law. You know, so that to me is quite interesting, but we'll see if that comes from the students or not. So, students, I'm going to invite you in the same order as I did last time to ask Nazmin a couple of questions each. Please limit yourself to 2 questions per school. We are going to start with Cambridge High School, then Modern Systems, then Al Mashrek, and then Serda. Okay? So, Cambridge High School, when you are ready, we will take your 2 questions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pragya. I'm sorry, but I had trouble understanding your accent, and you were a little fast for me to keep up with. So I would be grateful if you could maybe summarize what you said once again, please. Thank you.
I'm happy to do that, actually, if you want. I'm used to speaking really slow, really clearly on the video conference. So a couple of points that I've tweeted and also that I've written down here was that International Day should be as important as, say, Mother's Day or Valentine's Day, for starters. Nazmin commented that it's interesting that nowadays we're doing things like this. Young people are connecting to discuss women's issues, and that, to Nazmin, is perhaps progress from when she was at school. She says the first time she heard about International Women's Day was in her adulthood, not as a student. She pointed out that she perhaps has as much to gain and to learn from you, the students, today, as perhaps you can learn from her. She talked a little about what we call scriptural reasoning and the fact that the Quran and the Hadith can be interpreted in different ways. She then talked about the British Muslim network. Have I got that right, Nazmin, or is that not the name of it?
It's Muslim Women's Network UK.
Okay, the Muslim Women's Network UK, and the different strands, the different streams of the work that they're involved in. So she talked about sharing understanding, sharing knowledge, domestic violence, mental health, forced marriage, child sex abuse, and I know I've missed one, Nazmin, what's the other?
I think you've missed changing attitudes to women's leadership.
I have,
so
yeah.
Or just actually positive role modelling, so saying actually this is what they've achieved.
Yes, which was a point actually that Serda made earlier on about acknowledging women's achievements being as important as anything else. And that was more or less it. Obviously, Nazmin put a little more flesh on the bones there, but that is a kind of summary of what she said. Okay, Cambridge, are you ready to ask some questions? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lorenzo, and I'd like to ask, do you think that some of the interpretations of some religious scriptures might be bent towards the leader's personal gain, and in other cases? Thank you.
I'm just seeing if there's a second question as well, Nazmin, from that school, because at this point we will take two from each school if there are two questions. Cambridge, has anybody got a second question there or not yet? Oh, we do. Great.
Hello, my name's Nidhi, and I wanted to ask that does Ms. Nazmin think that the two opposing laws could cause a gap in women's rights? For example, having two separate systems in one country. For example, in India there's the government, and in some parts of India there's a kind of separate smaller system in villages, and both give opposing judgments, which could cause many of which are oppressive like judgments these smaller systems give. So I'd like to ask if she thinks that opposing laws could cause a gap in women's rights. Thank you.
Wow, amazing questions. Well done. There you go, Nazmin. Is that challenging enough for you?
Yep, I think it is. I should run away now. Okay, first of all, I apologise that I was talking too fast. I will try to slow down, but unfortunately, it is the accent. We talk very fast in Newcastle. But regarding the first question, whether interpretations can be bent towards leaders' personal gain, leaders is obviously, it can be both politicians or prime ministers in charge, as well as more local people. So I'm going to address it, in an overall sense. I'm not just referring to, say, country leaders and people in that sense, but community leaders as well. And my answer is that yes, it can be bent towards their own personal gain. That's the unfortunate part of it, that the Quran and the Sunnah, which the Prophet, peace be on him, practiced, have been manipulated for personal gain. So, for example, if I may give an example of this misinterpretation, female genital mutilation is not un-Islamic. It isn't. It's not in the Quran. It's not in the Sunnah. The Prophet's daughters did not have to go through it. However, there are people who will say that actually it is Islamic when it's not. And the reasons they do that is because they want to keep control over women. They want to keep control over cultural notions of patriarchy. That's the plan. And the way they do it is by stating, well, actually, it happened in the Prophet's time, therefore it should be allowed. Or they will go towards hadiths that aren't authentic and try and find a way to justify it that way. But when you delve into it, you look at the hadiths more and more, you look and see that the hadith itself that they are relying on, A, is not authentic and there is discrepancy within them, but also you can see them and interpret them a completely other way to say that actually this is a way of prohibiting it. Specifically, there is a hadith that suggests that essentially the hadith states that one day the Prophet, peace be on him, came across someone who was performing female genital mutilation, and he said, do not cut so severely. Now that has been interpreted by some to say that he isn't condoning, he's not condemning it, therefore it's okay. But when you look at it the other way, well, he's not condoning it either. he's saying don't cut so severely, so surely he's trying to prohibit it. And, you know, you have to think about the context and things like that. And that's the issue, that unfortunately some do some manage to change interpretations to suit them. Regarding the second question, and I really like this question, Smriti, because I've actually just come back from India and therefore know exactly what you mean. And I would say that something like this does cause gaps. And having said that, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily just an Indian issue, but it's also prevalent in the UK, for example. What occurs is that the law states one thing, whilst, as you rightly point out, these additional, I don't even know what to call them, whether I call them state courts or whether I call them small councils, cultural courts, or whatever you would class them as, they would be stating the different laws and deciding on their cultural basis instead. And I think that is something that does need to be tackled, you know, in a number of countries, UK included. In the UK in particular, we currently have an issue of arbitration councils. What arbitration is essentially just when two people have a conflict between them, they will go to mediation or arbitration to resolve the dispute. So they will go to an arbitrator and say, this is my side of the story, this is his side of the story, can you please decide who's, you know, right and wrong, and try to resolve it that way rather than go through the lengthy process of going to court, trying to get a judgment and all of that. What's happening in the UK, unfortunately, is that in cultural, due to cultural reasons, there are, for example, in different communities, people have created their own arbitration council, where instead of actually considering the law of the UK, or indeed proper Islamic law, they are just passing their own cultural notions. So, for example, a woman will probably go and say, my husband has been hitting me, and they'll ask, well, why has he been hitting you? And somehow they will pin the blame on her, and that's wrong, both Islamically and from a UK law point of view. And it's issues like that that need to be tackled, and the best way to tackle it is by addressing it, and the parts where we feel necessary, bring it in. Legal pluralism can work if we look into it and address the issues adequately. So at the minute in UK we're looking at arbitration, Islamic arbitration, and trying to bring it within the folds of the UK law itself, which means that the UK legal system can control it more at the same time while allowing people to get religious arbitration where they feel that it's necessary for them. So it's compromising, but it just means that by compromising and allowing Islamic arbitration or Jewish arbitration, which is also allowed, by allowing it, we're ensuring that the principles applied in such religious arbitration isn't contrary to UK law and isn't, for example, undermining women's rights.
Thank you, Nazmin. Can I just go back to Cambridge High School and just invite Nidhi, who asked that question, to comment, because I'm thinking that question must have come from some thinking on her side about the situation in India. Nidhi, do you find parallels with the situation in India, or do you think it's slightly different from what you've heard from Nazmin in the UK? Thanks.
Hi. Yeah, I think there are some similarities because what I've seen, that what happens, I've not seen it personally, but I've heard stories, I've read about it, that these kind of smaller systems that are not the proper law, like for example, there's something called a Kap Panchayat in some parts of North India. They try to pass the blame on the woman, whatever happens. So, which is not under the law, because the law is for giving equality to both the male and the female. For example, if some kind of crime happens against a female, they try to justify it by saying that it's the woman's fault, that she provoked the male into doing it, which is, and they do not punish the male for that. So and there's a social stigma associated to that female.
So I think that what Ms. Nazmin said kind of applies to the situation, and that there should be some kind of, all laws should be brought under one system, because such conflicting systems are create an injustice for women who fall between these cracks, and if they're joined together, we could probably reduce the amount of crimes and deliver more justice to these women who are oppressed under such systems. Thank you.
I would like to just add something to that quickly, if I may, Jo.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say actually that what has been said about India is the difference between, I mean, there are similarities obviously, as I said, but there is one huge difference between the situation in India and in the UK. In India, I have heard of the panchayat situation that has been highlighted, and the issue is that they don't necessarily bring religion into it, while in the UK it can be done on the basis of religion, which is I mean, this is my understanding of what I've seen and heard, so I may be wrong. Sometimes religion is brought into it, but in general, in India, the actual focus itself is on culture, and they're saying, well, according to our culture, it is your fault, etc., etc., when in fact it's not, you know, according to the culture, that isn't the case. While in the UK, it seems to be, you know, they're trying to impose a cultural notion by pretending it's religion. So that seems to be the biggest difference to me between them. But as I say, this is just on my experiences of what I saw, rather than, I can't say that every single panchayat in India is based purely on culture, not also religious viewpoints.
Thank you. But a really interesting point made there clearly for our students about how religion is used by some, or rather religious interpretation, as a really powerful controlling mechanism upon women. Right, let's move on now to Modern Systems School and take 2 questions from you, please.
Okay. Hi. Hello, my name is Raya, and I would like to ask Nazmin, what do you think about banning and attacking hijab in some Western countries? Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
And I have another question. Hello, I'm Rand. Miss Nazmin, out of your experience as a Muslim woman living in the Western world, why are we viewed as Eastern women to have weak personalities among Western countries? Like, for example, when it comes to the issue of hijab, people have the right to follow their own religious rules, and we as Islam women are viewed to have big personalities just for putting it. Why? Thank you.
I just want to come in as a facilitator now and say that the first question, no assumptions in there, but in the second question, if you look at the way the question's phrased, there is an assumption there. You know, why are Eastern women viewed by the West to be weaker? There's an assumption actually there that the West does view Eastern women as weaker. Now, Nazmin may well have found that to be her experience, but I think it's important that we don't necessarily generalize about the West as one huge homogenous group, because it's actually made up of many individuals with many different kind of opinions on this issue. So, Nazmin, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, regarding the question on banning and attacking the hijab, it's wrong. There's no any other way around it. It's wrong, and it shouldn't be followed. The reason I say this may sound backward, but it's not in the slightest. I'm an advocate for choice, and whether a woman wears a hijab or not is completely her choice. If she wants to wear a hijab, she should be allowed to. If she doesn't want to wear a hijab, that should be allowed as well. And I think that's what's forgotten when regimes or countries decide that they're going to stop banning the hijab. If you're going to stop banning the hijab, well, what are you going to ban next then? Are you going to stop banning bikinis? And what about someone who And alternatively, again, there's other systems who make it compulsory to wear the hijab. What about if they don't want to wear it? I think my biggest concern with discussions like the hijab or any other clothing is that the control, so they keep trying to take the control away from women. It's a woman's prerogative what she wears. It's her right to wear what she wants and she doesn't want to wear, and no one has the right to dictate it and restrict her movements in that way. So I hope that answers your question in that sense. As I say, I just don't think it's right to ban the hijab because that's imposing imposing their views on a woman and telling her what to do. And telling a woman what to do can't be right in any aspect. Regarding the second point, I think I'm in one of those strange situations where I'm both Eastern and Western. I'm British, but I'm also Asian, and that's where I've found strange experiences, because I do agree with you that some Westerners, you know, and as I say, I can't generalize and say it's all, but there is a general view in the West that Eastern women are weaker, you know, with weak personalities or submissive. There is that view, then I have come across that. But similarly, I've also come across views, say on the other side, where it's assumed that Western women are too, well, I'm trying to think of an appropriate word, not necessarily weak, but too, I don't want to say too progressive, but that's because that's not the word, but loose. Or that they're too easy in that sense. And that's a problem because each side is pointing fingers at the other side saying our side is better, and that's partly to do with why there are these viewpoints. And something else that I would highlight is actually I think the media is partly to blame for it, because the media is constantly going on about oppressive women, about how such and such a country is like this, women are like that, when the reality is that they're not. And to be honest, it is because of these beliefs and this constant stereotyping of women in the East, or Muslim women more generally, that Muslim Women's Network UK specifically works towards highlighting the achievements of Muslim women, saying actually we're not just weak personalities dependent on men sitting at home too scared to go outside. We're doctors, we're lawyers, we're accountants, we're out there achieving a lot more possibly than what other men are achieving in our category. And as I say, overall there are different issues, but I would personally say that it's just overall attitudes, you know, between that started by this us and them attitude that is leading to these stereotypical viewpoints. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Nazmin. That's great. Okay, let's move over now without further ado to Mashrek School, please, in Jordan. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Jade. I would like to ask, do you think there are biological differences between men and women that affect the women's role in society? Thank you.
My name is Louis. The second question is, as an Islamic woman living in the Western world, have you ever been attacked as an individual, like as a woman? How?
Joe, we're sorry, we did not understand the question. Can you please paraphrase it? We're having problems here.
So was I, Carmel. So can I ask Mashrek to repeat that, please? Thank you.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Living in the Western world, have you faced a problem as an individual? If yes, how? Thank you.
Okay, so I think that question is kind of related to the last question which we had, which is, can you tell us about a particular kind of time when you have come up against stereotypical attitudes, particularly in the West, but perhaps as you touched upon, you know, stereotypes of you as a Western woman as well, perhaps it would be fair and right, Nazmin, actually, for you to demonstrate both, perhaps. Can is there another question from Al Mashrek as well?
Hello, my name is Jay. Do you think there are biological differences between men and women that affect the woman's role in society? Thank you.
Right, okay, thank you for the questions. Regarding the first one, I think, just about the biological differences between men and women which may affect a woman's role. There are biological differences between men and women, obviously, but I don't see how they would affect the role of women in the slightest. Appreciate that there are differences, but differences don't mean that we won't be equal. There are different ways of gaining equality. To concentrate on biological differences in a bid to limit equality is incorrect, really. I think that was the question, so I guess just to repeat, my answer is that there are biological differences, but no, I don't think that affects a woman's role in society. Regarding the second question, unfortunately, there are a number of examples, so I don't really know which ones to delve into more or not. As an individual, well, if I was looking at stereotypical attitudes that I'd face as a Muslim woman or Eastern woman live in the West, it would be, you know, on a general basis, really. I mean, as I said, I work in law. When I first started in law, it was, well, difficult because in the UK, law, the legal profession itself, and this isn't just for ethnic minority women, but women in general, the legal profession in the UK is a man's world. So if you, there was a time when it was all upper middle class white men. Now, thankfully, this situation has changed, but it doesn't mean the struggles have changed. Women still need to prove that they are as strong as men. And when you're a ethnic minority woman and a Muslim woman, just adds to it. I prove on a number of occasions that I'm just as capable. And I think my most memorable meeting, which I've actually written about in an article which surprised many, my most memorable meeting was with a solicitor who, when being told that I'm a feminist, said that's not possible because Muslim women can't be feminists because they're all subordinate. And he was very confused at meeting an Asian Muslim woman who wasn't submissive. On that, as Joe asked about it, I've similarly had the same experiences on the other side. So I've been ethnic minority community members who've automatically assumed that just because I am a British educated woman having gone to university, that I must be completely far removed from the culture. In the UK we have a term called coconut. I don't know if anyone has similar terms, but in the UK, a coconut is someone who's brown on the outside and white on the inside. And that is something that I'm accused of on a daily basis. What that means is essentially they're saying that I look Asian, but inside I'm actually, quotes unquote, white. So what they're trying to say is that I've sold my ethnicity in order to be something I'm not. And I have to face that insult, and it's completely untrue. Just because I'm happy being British doesn't mean that I'm not happy being Asian. And just because I'm happy being a British Asian woman doesn't mean I'm not happy being Muslim. And that's the problem that I think I face, and a number of women, and perhaps you, all of you yourself face from time, that we're constantly having to choose between our different identities, when in fact people should just accept us for who we are, which is our collective identities. So I'm collectively a British Asian Muslim woman who works in law, who happens to do social work at the same time, and who has a range of different interests, rather than trying to define them and pigeonhole them into one aspect and say, okay, you're Eastern, okay, you're Western, okay, you are liberal, you're conservative. These, they don't help in the slightest. That's all I really had to say about Joe.
Thanks. I'm having some connection issues here, and I just wondered whether you answered that second question about the biological differences as well, Nazmin, but if you've covered it, then we'll move on.
I have, yes, covered it.
Yeah, okay. Then can we go over to Serda, please, for your two questions, please? Thank you.
Hi, my name is رؤى and إنه يعني كيف العادات والتقاليد مهمة جدا في حياة المرأة العربية. كيف تقدر تغير العادات والتقاليد السلبية تجاهها يعني وتشعر المجتمع إنه يعني كيف يتقبل هاي التغييرات. شكرا.
Hi, my name is Diam. أنا بدي أسأل إنه كيف إيش برأيك إنه هي الطريقة الصحيحة نقدر فيها نزيد وعي المجتمعات القائمة على المرأة، إنه نفهمهم إنه المرأة إذا بطلت مضطهدة إنها ممكن تنجز إنجازات كبيرة في المجتمع. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joa, and I want to ask about, I want to say that the traditional costumes, and cultural costumes in the society are so important and taking a very essential part in the society. So her question was how we can change these norms and customs toward the sake of women, and how we can make the society tolerate and accept these changes. The second question was what is the right strategy that women can go for to increase the society awareness about her or about women's achievements. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure if I heard the two questions correctly.
Do you want me to repeat them, Nazmin? Hello, Nazmin? Oh, just 1 second. Just 1 second, Nazmin is going to log back in. I'll just message her what the questions were. That last question actually that came from Serda School I think might be a good one for all of us to be considering actually. If you could be thinking while Nazmin is reconnecting, can you all be thinking about what you could do in your communities to raise the achievement of women? Are there certain women in your communities who do the most amazing work for women's rights or for other areas that affect your community that perhaps should be celebrated much more? So can you be thinking about that, raising the profile of important women in your community? Who are these women and how could you, young people, raise their profile? Please be thinking about that while Nazmin, our guest, reconnects. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to be asking you to answer this question in 1 minute. Okay, about raising the profile of important women in your community. Okay, folks, now as people are speaking in answer to this question, I want you really listening, because it would be great if you can build upon what one another said, or maybe ask questions so that we've got affirmation in the video conference, maybe a bit of challenge as well. So I can see you all. Can you raise your hand if you'd like to start us off with a response to this question? Was that Mashrek School? Yep. Right, we'll go to Mashrek School first. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hadil. I believe that media can have an effective role regarding this issue. Media can be implemented in a positive way in which we can raise awareness through newspapers, magazines, campaigns, lectures, especially for youth, because youth is the next generation. They can influence their, yes, they have a huge effect on our community. So I think the media can be implemented in a positive way to raise awareness. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maria. At the moment, social media is probably the most, for youth, is the most effective way to communicate and send out messages and affect their point of view and to give them knowledge about everything that is happening and women's rights, because I think that not a lot of people, not a lot of youthful people really know about the subject or understand it. And really, very few amount of them, very few of them really understand what's going on and don't really pay attention to how terribly women are treated, to be honest. And to add up on what Hadid already said, I think through social media, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and other ways to communicate, I think it's probably another very strong and effective way to send messages to youngsters and people to actually show them and to make a difference, creating events and
Okay, well let me ask you then, what would these messages be? You know, it's fine to say that would be your strategy, but actually there's a missing piece to that, isn't there? What would these messages be that you gave to the newspapers, the magazines, put on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter? Thank you.
Answer? Yeah. These messages would be stopping violence. For example, honor killings are they're spreading in Jordan especially. Honor killings, for example, a man hears something about his sister and fears that she's doing something wrong. So instead of asking her, have you seen this person, let me just rephrase what I'm saying. In our culture, a woman in certain provinces in Jordan, a woman is seen as weak and has a small role. So when she speaks to a man, she is assumed to be doing a sin or something wrong. So her brother or her father accordingly punishes her by killing her or by doing things like that. So honor killing should be we should raise awareness on honor killings through Facebook, newspapers, magazines, and articles, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Really, really interesting. Thank you so much for that. Now, I know there were plenty of other people who also wanted to come in at this point, so raise your hand if you want to continue this discussion. Yeah, another school I'm inviting now. I'm looking for hands up. Yeah, okay, that's Modern Systems, I believe. Thank you.
Come on. Hey, my name is Mace. We're talking about how to raise the importance of women in the communities, and we think that it's a huge part on her shoulders to raise her awareness of her importance in the community, actually. And then to raise the awareness of the community itself. This is how we think it's going to be important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what would your strategy be? Would you do the same thing? I mean, you're in Jordan as well. Would you do the same thing as Al Mashrek School? Use social media, use other media? And what would your key messages be? Thank you.
How could you do that? Yeah, of course, the media is the most important thing or role, taking the most important role in our communities nowadays. So, of course, the community will be using media, networks, and so on. Education, of course.
To raise the awareness. To raise the awareness. Thank you.
Oh, no.
Interesting that you mentioned education there. Okay, thank you very much, Modern Systems. Serda, Cambridge High School, would you like to contribute?
Yeah, Joe, we're just doing some translation. Can you bear with us?
Yeah, we're just going to give Serda a moment to translate, and then we'll hear from them, and then hopefully after that we can hear from Cambridge High. Okay, Serda, are you ready? Thank you.
يعني لازم المرأة انها يعني يساعد دورها كمان بالسياسة، لانه ممكن اذا كانت مثلا انه رئيسة او شيء يعني وزيرة ممكن تغير اشياء في المجتمع المرأة. شكرا. Thank you.
هاي أنا بدي أحكي إنه إذا الناس إنه اهتموا في المرأة وأعطوها دعم مالي، ممكن المرأة إنها تثبت حالها قدام المجتمع، ممكن إنها تنجز أشياء إنه ما استطاعش إنه ينجزها، وممكن إنها تكون قدوة للنساء التانيين في المجتمع، فبرضه هم إنه يصير إنه يثبتوا للمجتمع كله إنه المرأة يمكن إنها إنه تحسن المجتمع.
إنه نقدر نساعد المرأة عن طريق دعم المؤسسات النسوية، عن طريق إعطائها إنه يمكن الدعم المادي عن طريق دفع مبالغ للمؤسسات التعاونية، أو عن طريق الدعم
أو عن طريق الدعم المعنوي، إنه مثل المشاركة في يوم المرأة والخروج إلى الساحات عشان نعرف إنه نعطي المرأة حقوقها، يعني نساعدها إنه يعني نخليها تعرف إنه المشاكل تواجه كل المجتمع بندعمها فيها ونساعدها. كمان نقدر عن طريق نشر التوعية عن طريق إدخالها في المناهج المدرسية، إنه تعزيز دور المرأة، فهيك بيساعد إنه نشر التوعية. شكرا.
Alright. Okay. So the first answer was how to develop the importance of women in the society is by activate her role in politics. So if the woman takes a part in politics, she would be a president or vice president or whatsoever. So that would be the first step of the change. The second answer was is by developing the financial status of women, and by if women can take a part in the financial situation in the family, she could attribute and contribute in many of family decisions, and she can be a role model or an example for other women, and she can prove to the society that that women can be an important part in the family first. The third answer was by supporting the feminist institutions and women institutions, is by giving her spiritual support, and by giving her basic rights, and also by involving this in our school curriculums and increasing education and awareness among people. Thank you.
Those are fabulous ideas, I think. It'd be interesting to see what others, including Nazmin, think of those ideas from CERDA. So well done there. All great ideas, but particularly those from CERDA, I think were very strong there. Right, Cambridge High School, we've not heard from you yet. So would you like to contribute also? Nazmin, for your benefit, we're looking at how the profile of women can be raised within these communities that are on the video conference. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lana. What I would like to say is that a woman, not necessarily she has to wear hijab, but then in the community she needs to be educated to be able to have women's rights. The basic meaning of women's rights is what she wants to be equal to a man, but should she be entirely equal, or are there stuff that prevents a woman from being equal to a man? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Adi. How I think women to raise the profile of women is by giving awards to women with great accomplishments through the media to spread awareness and educating the mass on how important the women are, and so that they can appreciate what these women have done. And if a woman is doing something good in the society, the government can support her efforts financially and in other ways. Thank you.
Excellent. Now we've heard from a lot of you now with very many different ideas and varied ideas of raising the profile of women within your communities. I'm going to invite you now to ask questions to one another about the different ideas that you've had. And then after we've had a discussion between ourselves, I'll ask Nazmin for her reflections, because obviously she's worked an awful lot in this particular field. So I can see Mashrek are raring to go. Okay, let's hear your question on raising the profile of women. Thank you.
I actually want to comment on Cambridge High's first answer. She mentioned that in order for a woman to be equal to a man, she should be educated. I actually disagree because women they're human beings. Everyone should be equal to one another. Even not being educated means that she can be equal. For example, a woman who's not educated, yet she has a family. She can influence her children and do something for good for her family. Thank you. Do you want to add?
Yes.
My friend wants to add something.
My name is Maria. I think what the student from Cambridge High said, I think that what she said totally opposes why we were discussing this and everything we were saying from the beginning, because we were basically discussing how men or women have to be naturally equal, and her saying that a woman should be educated in order for her to be equal to a man doesn't relate to what we're saying, because it opposes everything we were basically discussing.
I know that Cambridge High wants to respond to this, and I'm sure that they do, but I'm just interested, why do you think the education of women is against everything that we're talking about right now? I mean, I'd have thought the equality, the right to education and to be educated was a part of this discussion. Can we hear first of all from Al Mashrek, and then we're going to go back to Cambridge High School? Thanks.
I didn't mean in that sense. I meant that education is an important role. It can enhance a woman's thinking and actions in a society. However, it does not mean that she cannot be equal to other members in the society. Naturally, a human being is equal. Whether it is a man or woman, they are both equal to each other. So a woman not being educated doesn't mean that she cannot achieve something. So, for example, I mean that a married woman that's not educated can do something good for her family. She can
provide many things.
Yes, provide many things, love and caring, and teaching her children basic things can actually make a big difference. So simple things can do a big difference.
Okay, let's go back to Cambridge High School, who made the original comment and have had this challenge, and let them respond there. Thank you.
Okay, what Mashrek School said, I didn't say that. I said that in order to have rights, to be aware of what you've been put through, then you have to have education to be able to answer to that, or you're just going to keep oppressed. Yeah.
And as well as with education, you can be able to do other things. Like women have to be able to have the same rights to education as men do. So they can become doctors, they can become lawyers, they can become what they want to be. They can liberate other oppressed women so that they can be able to use their rights wisely.
I would just like to reinstate what they've said. Education is essential. If a man is being educated, then a woman should be educated. In fact, even an education is unnecessary to say that both genders already have rights. By birth, they have rights. Education just helps the already oppressed part of the population realize that they have to fight for their rights or demand their rights because they have to do it. No one else is going to do it for them, and education helps them pursue that.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, everybody who took part in that discussion there. Well done. I'm at a disadvantage now because my video has gone. So I'm just going to invite Modern Systems School to see if they have a question for anybody else. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shahid. What I wanted to point there is that women in our community has a part she has the right to take any path she wants and any path she likes, in our community, and she doesn't need she doesn't need only her education to be a part of the community. We have mothers, we have daughters, we have a wife. That's a part of the community, even without education. But I'm not saying that the education it's a really a big matter nowadays. But she can be she can be a part of the community even though she doesn't have education.
There you go. Okay, what I want to say is that not being educated doesn't...
Can I ask please that at your school it's just one person at a time speaking, because when there's other people having a conversation as well, it's really difficult to pick up what you're saying. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hiba, and what I want to say is that when you're not educated, that doesn't mean that you don't have the right to have rights. Like, many people are not educated, that doesn't mean that they doesn't have the right of having rights. We can have rights and we cannot be educated. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to bring Nazmin in a moment, but I would just like to hear from Serda as well, particularly on this topic of education and women's rights. Thank you. Serda School, is there anybody there who would like to comment about education and women's rights?
Yes, so here we have,
perfect.
We have a male student, all right, and he would like to share his idea about that. Yeah.
تعليم المرأة بالتدريجات لأنها بعد ما تتعلم تاخد شهادة تشتغل في الشهادة تقدر إنها تنجز أحسن كثير من الزلمة اللي عمره.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Yahya is saying that education can provide women and can empower women with the certificates and with the knowledge that she can use them as a tool to have a job in the future and to work, which can be a great contribution for women to take an important part in the society. Yeah, thank you.
المرأة هي اللي بتربي الأولاد زي ما هو متعارف عن الناس، فدائما المرأة عندها وعي وثقافة منيحة تجاه حقوقها وواجباتها تقدر تربي أولادها على نفس هاي الطريقة، بصيروا أولادها وأحفادها كل اللي حواليها عندهم تربية وثقافة منيحة حول المرأة وحقوقها وواجباتها وبيجي لازم عليها، وهيك المرأة بتاخذ حقوقها وبتنشر الوعي داخل المجتمع وتقدر تقيم العادات والثقافة السائدة ضد المرأة وتقيم الظلم عن نفسها وعن المجتمع اللي حواليها وعن النساء اللي حواليها، وبتكون هي في مصدر القرار وبتقدر تشارك في كل شيء في البيت والوعي السياسي وكل شيء.
يعني بقدر احكي انه بتعرف حقوقها وما بخدعها اي حدا. يلا Hi, my name is Ra'a and يعني المرأة إذا بتتعلم تقدر تعرف كل حقوقها إنه ما حدش بيقدر يخدعها لأنه بتعرف شو تعمل شو تتصرف في جميع الحالات اللي بتواجهها. Thank you.
Balkis is saying that the woman is the responsible one, like in society and in the family, who is responsible for raising the children. So she can use this power as a tool to deliver and to transfer this knowledge about rights, about her rights, to her children, and to spread that culture to her kids, and also to spread up the awareness as a result of that into society, which can consequently remove the traditions and norms that the mistaken tradition and norms that society that is dominating society and dominating in the society. And Ru'a is saying that if the woman can be educated, she would know how to behave and how to act, which can be good, that she can't be fooled or she can't be tricked by any of the society. By the society, and her acknowledgement about her rights would be a very beneficial thing to her. Thank you.
That is fascinating. That's really interesting. I find this whole discussion really interesting. I know that Nazmin's really keen to come in at this point and to comment on what she's heard. So please do go ahead, Nazmin. Oh, Nazmin, we don't seem to be able to hear you very well. No. Nazmin, I'll have to ask you to mute and perhaps work with Sanjay over Skype to get your audio issue sorted. What I would like to do in the interim period is I would like to ask if any student on the video conference would like... Oh, Nazmin, you're going to have to mute your microphone, please. Thank you.
Joe, in the meanwhile, we have a male student who was not able to share his ideas, and we're not an oppressing environment here, so if you would like for him to share his ideas, can you please?
Okay, yes, sure. But then after that, I would like some questions for students, one another, about women's rights in their communities, please. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is عبد الرحمن. بدي أقول إنه العلم بغض النظر عن الجنس ذكر ولا أنثى بيرفع من مستويات الفرد، وبالمعرفة بنقدر نحمي حالنا من الاستغلال. والدليل عليه ان الرب ما قال هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون.
Hi, my name is Tia. إنه أنا بدي أحكي إنه كيف إنه الشريعة الإسلامية رفعت من مكانة المرأة، برضه إنه في لازم المرأة تضل إنه لازم تتعلم لسن إنه لازم تضل متعلمة علشان تقدر إنها تتأقلم مع المجتمع اللي حواليها، أو تقدر تدخل في نقاشات كبيرة إنها ممكن تترك قرارها في المجتمع، وبرضه إنه نظر الإسلام للمرأة إنها كانت المرأة إنه الأعطى الإسلام للمرأة الكثير من الحقوق، إنه إذا إحنا اتبعنا الدين الإسلامي المرأة راح إنه تصير مساوية للرجل في المجتمع، إنه زي ما الرسول حكى إن النساء شقائق الرجال، وهذا الحديث بدل على إنه الإسلام إنه بيهتم بالمرأة زي ما بيهتم بالرجل.
Abdurrahman was saying that regardless of the gender, women and men should be educated so that we can promote the status of society, and with knowledge we can protect ourselves from any violence against women. Tia is saying that religion has promoted the status of women as it forces people to or forces women to be educated until 12, and so women can be involved in society's decisions. And as well, Islam has given women many of their rights, and she's quoting from Al-Hadith, which Inna nisaa shaqa'iq ar-rijal, which means that women are sisters to men, and they're equal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, I saw a hand up at Cambridge High School there. I think they've got a comment or a question, which is great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pragya, and I just want to respond to one of the statements made by about the women who are mothers and sisters and are not necessarily educated. And I would like to clarify, first of all, we do need education, but education is not the same as literacy. The ability to read or write is very different from the ability to judge, to have a correct sense of judgment. And although not necessarily all mothers and sisters may be able to read and write at this point of time, what we do need is education of these women and being able to stimulate their sense of judgment. For example, when you have in-laws in a household, the in-laws themselves, the mother-in-law herself decides to undermine the maybe daughter-in-law's rights. And she does this not because she's not necessarily not able to read or write, but she's not educated about, she just doesn't have that sense of judgment. And we're looking for that kind of education, not necessarily teaching every single woman to read or write, but to stimulate their sense of judgment so that mother-in-laws themselves know and acknowledge other women's rights.
Really interesting. Now I've got my video back. Is there a hand up there at Mashrek School? Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bana, and I would like to share my opinion concerning education and its effect on women's rights. I believe that education is an extremely important part of the life of a woman, and I believe that women must fight for the right for education because it promotes many different opportunities socially and in many different ways. And I would like to ask if, I would like to say that religion as Islam has given the right for education for all women. And yes, and my colleague Hadid would like to emphasize what happened.
Yes, to emphasize on her point and support it, I would like to say that religion encourages women's right to receive knowledge. Both men and women are equally encouraged to seek knowledge. The Prophet Muhammad once said, education is compulsory for every Muslim. Thank you.
Okay, finally, I'd just like to summarize everything that Mashrek School is trying to say. Education can actually empower a woman and support the woman, therefore we're trying to avoid any ignorance. Therefore, an educated woman will be able to deliver this message. For example, she's a mother. She's going to be able to deliver this message to her children, and therefore they will be aware about it. Therefore, a generation will be more, they will be more knowledgeable about this problem, and therefore education is playing a huge role, and it's actually very important for us to all know that an educated woman has so much more advantage than an uneducated woman.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to remind you all, though, that you come to this video conference as individuals. You don't come and are expected to speak as a school. We appreciate there'll be diverse opinions within a classroom, and that's absolutely fine. Now, poor Nazmin has been trying to reconnect for about the last 10 minutes. She has unfortunately missed the most fabulous discussion about, you know, education of women and education of girls and the different permutations of those. But I know she's got some comments. Fingers crossed, Nazmin, that your audio will work this time so that you can comment also. Do you want to give it a go? Thank you. Oh, we can't hear you, Nazmin. Have you unmuted? Go ahead. Nazmin, I think we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes.
All right. Okay then. Sorry about that before. I just wanted to really, I mean, I heard about this whole initial part of the discussion about education, and I think I'm guilty of this as much as the next person, but I wanted to say there's a difference between being a graduate and being educated. I know I referred to myself as educated before, but being educated doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have a degree. Being educated just means being aware of everything that's relevant to you, so knowing your rights, knowing things about your community, about society, and just having a general understanding. So I think we need to be able to distinguish between the two issues. We're not saying that you need to have a degree in order to be equal to someone else, but we are saying that education of any aspect of it, could be, you know, it could be about legal rights that you have, it could be about health matters on how to treat, say, how to deal with someone who's had a stroke. These are all educational points that everyone needs to be aware of, because it helps everyone. It helps women acquire rights. It helps society as a whole. And overall, I think everyone just agrees, from what I've heard, that education is key. And I think the last person who I heard had said something about education being promoted in Islam, and that's exactly the case. And I think that's also something that's forgotten, that it's something that's always been promoted in Islam, yet now it seems people are going backwards from it. And the reason for that is that there seems to be a notion that someone can be too educated. Well, how can you be too educated? Because, you know, knowledge is vast. We can't ever know everything. And you need, you know, there's nothing wrong in striving to acquire as much knowledge as possible, and whatever aspect that interests you. The other thing that I just wanted to say was, I did hear at some point, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but someone said that women have to be equal, and she made some reference about being equal to men, and I don't really agree with that, because we don't need to have men as the, you know, point that we compare ourselves to. Equality means being able to do what you wish to do without any hindrance, without anyone stopping you. No one says to men that they need to, you know, that they have this goalpost. No one, you know, they can do what they want. So if a man wants to be a lawyer, he can do. Yet when a woman wants to be a lawyer, it's, you know, the idea is that she needs to be the same as the man. We don't need to think like that. The woman just needs to be herself, and that could be in any way. That's true equality.
Okay, we are.
That's all I really want to say.
Thank you, Nazmin. That's very valuable. We're coming up to the end of the video conference now, and I just wondered, Nazmin, whether you wanted to throw a challenge over to the young people on today's video conference. Thank you.
I was actually going to ask whether they had a challenge for me, but that's interesting. I think what I would ask you all to do now is, one way or another, and it can be as little or as small, is to actually educate on the rights of women. And this could be in any way. It could be a Facebook status that you create, or it could be going on the streets and campaigning for it. So that's going to be my challenge for you. Since education is key, find a way to educate someone about rights of women, to stop violence against women.
Okay, what a brilliant, brilliant challenge. So how will you educate your communities, your school communities, your faith communities, your local communities perhaps, on the rights of women. Okay, especially Nazmin's area of work is violence against women in particular, and there's been quite a lot of talk about that, particularly from the Jordanian students today as well. So can you just have 1 minute thinking time, and then this will be the last thing that you say on this video conference apart from goodbye. What can you do to educate others in your community about the rights of women? Okay. We're going to hear this time from Surda, then Mashrek, then Modern Systems, then Cambridge High. Okay, Surda, when you're ready, thank you. Okay, Surda, in the interest of time, I'm going to need a response now. Thank you. Right, okay, we'll go to Mashrek first then. Mashrek, thank you.
Sorry, my name is
the ways in raising awareness.
Okay, it appears Surda are ready, so we'll hear from Surda. Thank you, Mashrek, for your patience.
Hi, my name is Yahya. I want to say المعرفة أحمي نفسي من الاستغلال.
استغلال يعني used ولا abused.
Hello, my name is Yahya, and my sentence would be that with knowledge I can protect myself from abuse.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Mashrek.
I think campaigns are effective, really, especially when what comes to social media. Since social media has the most effect on teenagers and young women, especially in our time. Thank you.
Creating women rights campaigns in certain society or community can increase knowledge and understanding about the importance of women's rights, and emphasizing on that God created us all equal, each with different skills and opportunities in life. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to Modern Systems. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Ragad. Before I want to answer the question, I want to elaborate more on what my colleague said about the right for education.
I'm so sorry, we've not got time. We're going to get cut off in 2 minutes, and I need to hear from Cambridge School as well. So can you just tell us your statement? Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to Zan.
Okay, hi, my name is Yazan, and We think that we can show women the benefits of education through network and social media, such as Facebook and Twitter and so on, because they are so popular. And yeah, thank you.
Interesting. Same plan as Mashrek then, social media. Okay, Cambridge High, thanks.
Yeah, hi, I'm Abdullah Firdausi. I would like to say that the United Nations have planned for a great strategy to encourage the families living in the poor areas that do not want to send their girls, which is that if they send a boy, they would give a meal only for him, and if they send a girl, they would give him food for her and for her family, so she could take it home and give it to them. So we should invent ways of encouraging them, because education is a birthright. It is without education, we would not know whether we're being used or whether we're being taken advantage of. And we need to raise awareness. We need to raise awareness that women deserve the right to education. Women deserve anything that a man can do, a woman can do just as well or even better. A woman should be allowed to do whatever a man does. A woman can become a lawyer. A woman can become anything that a man can. And so we should definitely invent ways that can encourage people in any way to send their girls to educate women, and to educate the uneducated women who didn't get a chance in their youth, because education, you don't have to be of any particular age to be educated.
Okay, thank you very much, Cambridge High School. Now I'm going to go straight over to Nazmin for the last words for today's video conference before we do get cut off. Nazmin, you've got about 30 seconds, thanks.
I just wanted to say it was wonderful speaking to you all, and I've learned a lot from you. So I hope that you've also learned something from me as well. And the last words I really want to say is that it doesn't matter how small a step you take, any step is better than no step in tackling important issues like this.
Great, thank you so much, Nazmin. Now, the last thing I'm going to put on our online community, I'm going to put a forum up there for you to report on how well you've done with raising the profile of women and raising the whole issue of women's rights within your community. So please, if you're not uploaded there, teachers, upload the students so that they can report on this action that's come off the back of today's video conference. Okay, can you open up your microphones, everybody, and say a big thank you and a big goodbye to all involved. Nazmin, it's been brilliant having you with us. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Goodbye.